My name's Paul Bousted and I'm the VP of Product and Business Strategy at Dolby in a business group, a new group where we're doing a product called Dolby OptiView. I'll talk a bit about that later. My background is I'm doing product now, but I've been very much a researcher and an engineer in my past. I'm doing the product and product strategy approach at the moment so that I can dictate. No, not dictate, but I have an influence on what we do from the engineering perspective. So today I'm going to be presenting some results of a survey that we did with Dan Rayburn and Stream TV. And so I'm going to add some context from Dolby's own discussions and work within the sports streaming industry. And so I probably should start with what Dolby's doing in the sports streaming industry, because it helps you understand where we're coming from, and also it helps because we're really interested in talking to other people about this area as well. So at Dolby, we see the inflection point that's happening in sports streaming. There's obviously the move from broadcast to over the top, but there's also a move to much more expensive and fragmented rights. And that move to much more expensive and fragmented rights has got an interesting impact, which I quite like, because now streaming services are much more motivated to increase the number of viewers, increase subscription revenue, and increase advertising revenue. And they've got to do that with the light of the fact that we have younger generations like Gen Z that are really not into long-form content, like sitting through a whole game. So they're much more interested in short-form content, and they want to interact over content as well. So whether it's interacting over social media or the rise of sports betting, which is another way of interacting. So there's a lot of change happening here. So Dolby.io is an experience company, so this change has got our attention because the change really means that we have to make sports more engaging. Online sports experience is more engaging going forward, and we're very much an experience company. We've been working with Hollywood on improving the experiences or creating experiences and working on storytelling within movies and episodic TV, and we're now starting to focus on sports. So exactly what we're doing in sports, I'll just do a very brief description here. If you want to talk more, you can talk to me afterwards. So obviously we've got Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision, and that's really about the media experience, making the at-home experience feel like you're in the stadium. One of the big reasons people go to the stadium is that feel of the crowd around you, feeling like you're with the supporters of your team. So replicating that is useful. Also, Dolby Vision helps create an immersive video experience. But Dolby OptiView, the group I'm working for, we're looking wider than that. We're looking at how we can create personalized interactive experiences that also help our customers make money. And within the Dolby OptiView umbrella, we have 3 products. A player, which is already trusted by a lot of streaming organizations. We bought a company called Theo Player about 1.5 years ago. And it's used by a lot of streaming organizations already, plus sports organizations. And really our aim there is to get involved on the playback side, because that's where we can make a difference on the experience. And I won't talk too much about that, but you see kind of some of the things which come up in the survey are very relevant to us. We also have a low delay streaming product, which we can do low and ultra low delay, and really we're working with people that are doing interactive sports experiences there. And we also have a server-guided ad insertion product. And our goal there, with server-guided ad insertion, you actually do stitching in the player, and it really helps you personalize your content, but it also means that you can create new ad experiences, and it's those new ad experiences that are most interesting to us. So I'll go on to the survey itself now. So unfortunately, the text is a little bit hard to read, particularly for people up the back there. Our marketing people who did the slides for me, which is nice. As an engineer, having someone else write the slides for you was really cool. But they could have made the text a bit bigger. So I apologize for that. So Dan Rayburn has got great connections in the sports industry. So he got a reasonable number of influential people in the sports industry to answer this survey. So I've been digging through the results. We've got lots of Excel pivot tables. I've been doing some scripting to try and do a bit more deep analysis. But we've got a lot of interesting information here. And this presentation just delves into the top level of it. There's more interesting things here. So the kind of people that responded came from across the industry, from OTT streaming service providers, telco operators, broadcasters, and also sports leagues and federations as well. Actually, I'm quite interested in the results from the sports leagues and federations because they're really interested in growing their fan base. The viewer location for the services for the respondees covered the world. The interesting thing for me here is a lot of them covered multiple regions. So that a lot of the services are not just US based. I know a bunch of US organizations, they're very US centric, but they're trying to push their streams out to the world. There's certain sports in the US that are trying to get a lot more viewership around the world. They kind of tapped out the viewership in the US, they're trying to grow. The types of companies we have from small startups to larger companies. The sweet spot is kind of in the companies between 50, 200, 500 to 2,000, 2,000 to 10,000. For people who can't see the numbers there, they're the big bars. The topics we covered were around monetization, which is crucial at the moment because of the rights, which I talked about before. Video quality, we want to understand what people mean by video quality and what's important there. Fan engagement, we really want to understand what people were trying now and what they wanted to try in the future. Latency, we're interested in whether people are interested, now in low latency or what they think about the future. And with each of these topics, we're also talking about the key opportunities and challenges. So I'll start with summarizing the key opportunities and challenges. And on this graph here shows on the left-hand side, we've got opportunity, growing from low opportunity to high opportunity, and technical challenge, going from high technical challenge to low technical challenge. And so if we look at what's interesting here, so these 2 points, we have personalizing ads and content and enhancing viewer engagement. They're seen as low-hanging fruit because they've got a high opportunity and also a low technical challenge. I'll comment on the technical challenge later because I think there are definitely challenges there. They may be product challenges, not technical challenges. So I can completely understand why personalizing ads and content is the highest opportunity. That's really central to monetization. Personalizing ads enables you to get more revenue per ad that you play, and that's actually getting harder and harder. That's why we're focusing on server-guided ad insertion, where we do stitching in the player. It enables you to scale that easier than doing it all on a monolithic server-side stitcher. Personalizing content is all about keeping viewers engaged. And if you can keep viewers engaged, then it goes back to revenue. Enhancing viewer engagement is just the more expansive version of personalized content. There are other ways of engaging viewers other than personalized content. And we talk more about that later. But the key thing about enhancing viewer engagement is a number of our customers say that if they can get viewers to stay watching for more than 15 to 20 minutes, which isn't a high bar, for 3 weeks in a row, they can retain them as a subscriber. So that personalizing viewer engagement is super critical. It's interesting here on the left-hand side, the things which are high opportunity and high technical challenge are all the engineering problems. So we have, handling scalability. Scalability is always hard, whether you have to pre-provision your CDNs at high value just in case you get a lot of viewers at a particular stream. And even then, things like the Tyson fight, that's shown limitations of CDN-based streaming. When you have a massive stream, you've got to deal with the flood of point-to-point connections in the access network. So there's scalability at the high end is challenging because of those issues, but also at the low end, How do you go about provisioning before you have an event where you don't know how big it's going to be? So ensuring high quality streams is also crucial. That's all about getting your ABR ladder right and doing all of the mechanics underneath your streaming service right. But even if you do that, you're going to end up with complaints anyway, because there are circumstances which you just can't get around. So I think ensuring high quality streams, part of that is also telling people when it's not working, what's wrong. They're blaming someone else. Minimizing latency is also important, and we talk more about that in the subsequent, actually this slide. So we asked the respondents to the survey where they were with latency now and where they wanted to be in 3 years' time. And this is not glass-to-glass latency, this is from contribution to distribution. So on this you've got to add your production delays. And so on this graph on the left-hand side we have a cumulative percentage, and on the bottom we have time. So the way to read it is, so 57% of respondents are saying now, so the blue line, that 50% of respondents are saying their delay at the moment is less than 10 seconds. In 3 years' time, 71% of the respondents wanted to be sub 10 seconds. What's really interesting is the sub 5 second one to me, because sub 5 seconds, so 5 seconds of streaming latency plus 5 seconds of production latency kind of gets you in the broadcast range. And we have 31% of respondents saying they're at that now, and 48% saying they want to be there in 3 years' time. Latency, I'm a telecommunications engineer, so latency itself is not the only thing to look at. And the figures people usually report for streaming services are really best case latencies in general. The latency that you get when a viewer is on a good network. In reality, what happens in the wild is if you're on a bad network, you've got to cope with that, and you'll have a larger playback buffer in your player. And so in reality, you get varying latency. It's not such a problem with broadcast. With broadcast, people are watching pretty close together. And these results interest me quite a lot, because we had 6% of people saying watching at the same time, completely synchronized. I'm not sure whether they want it completely synchronized, but we have some people who want to watch their viewers to watch at the same time. But we have 26 saying they want them watching within a second of each other, and 62% saying they want their viewers to watch within 5 seconds of each other. And why people want viewers to watch together goes back to the latency challenge before. With latency, there are kind of 3 drivers for latency. One is, with the current world, everyone's watching together through social media. So if you have a delay which is greater than 10 seconds, you're likely to get a spoiler from someone who's at the game over social media. So a lot of people turn off their social media when they join a game, but people are also addicted to their social media, so it's kind of a quandary there. So social media interaction is driving latency. Also, people don't accept that over-the-top streaming is higher latency than broadcast latency as well. Consumers don't understand the difficulties. And the third one, a little bit more controversial, is that sports betting, in particular in-play sports betting, is growing, particularly with younger generations, and that actually demands lower delays. Lower delay the better in that circumstance, so that's another one of the drivers. But so if you get all that right with your streaming service, but then a bad network, users on a bad network and they're 10 seconds later than someone on a good network, you still have that problem where not everyone's watching together and they're behind time, and people complain if they're delayed now. So fan engagement, so here we asked the respondents what features they have implemented now and what they see as a priority in the future for personalized and interactive experiences. So it's hard to read here, but I'll talk about the categories as I go forward. luckily I have them highlighted so that I can actually say. So the top two here are customized viewing angles, camera feeds. That's the top line. At 25% of viewers say that's important now, and 26% say it's a focus for the future. Non-intrusive ads is the second one, which is 24% now and 26% in the future. So customized viewing angles, I don't think this is just seeing multiple angles of a particular game. From the discussions we're having with sports streaming organizations, the key thing at the moment is, for most sports, is to show streams from other games at the same time. So keep people engaged by showing, interesting things, goals that are scored in other games at the same time in a multi-screen experience, or making it really easy for people to click on events to keep them engaged to go to the next thing. Customized viewing angles of the one game is relevant, but it's more relevant in NASCAR and Formula One, things like that, where everything's so spread apart, and to understand what's going on, you've got to switch around the field. Non-intrusive ads for fan engagement type experience is interesting. They're very high priority, and I think here it is, we don't want to disengage users by showing an ad. So how do we show an ad and monetize without pissing off the user and they leave? Low latency live streaming, this was actually a surprise. Now, 21% of people say that they are implementing low latency live streaming, and 54% of respondents say they aim to do it it's a focus going forward. So that's actually the biggest shift. And the next ones I'm going to show you are the ones where there's a big difference between what people are focusing on now and the future. So this next one, so the next highest growth feature is actually enhanced audio options. Being from Dolby, that sounds pretty good. So obviously there's a few angles here. It's not just immersive audio, but immersive audio actually helps create a similar experience in the home that you get in the stadium. Get the feel that you're with the crowd. And there's some interesting things people are doing here so that you can get the audio of your team section in the crowd, or have an audience experience which you get feedback from your own team. There's really cool things you can do in this space. There's also commentary choices. Commentary choices, I think, is also big. Having commentary from a superfan, or having commentary from someone else, or even translating commentary. So personalized content recommendations, notifications is important. It's implemented by 22% of people now, and 33% are focusing on the future. Obviously, this is key to keeping people engaged and growing revenue. So on the video quality side, we asked respondents to rate the quality of their video service now, and then also tell us what their challenges were. They could tell us multiple challenges, so these percentages obviously don't add up. So interestingly here, most people aren't happy with the quality of the video service now. On average, they rated it at 5.8 out of 10. There's quite a lot of people with low rankings, so people aren't happy with their service, which is interesting. A lot of room for improvement. Where it also gets interesting is these challenges aren't just the traditional, bit rate, frame rate, buffering. Actually, they're lower. The highest priorities for people, or the highest challenges, are around device compatibility. And us, as we have a player, and we understand those challenges because we've got to support so many different devices and OSs, from web, mobile, smart TV, and connected TV, and keeping up with that and ensuring good quality across that it's definitely a challenge. Latency comes in here, and it's latency. People get complaints when latency is too high now. I kind of like that because people are starting to demand lower latency. The traditional sort of streaming metrics are still important. So low video quality, 33% of the respondents said that's a problem. And that is, again, going back to technical implementation, ABR ladder, and then also limitations. You can't do everything. Stuttering, buffering, 19% of respondents said that was an issue, and startup time's the same, 19% of respondents. Ads is an interesting one. So 18% of respondents said ads was a video quality problem. And what I see here, and this is also from discussions with people in the industry, is if you're playing ads and you get it wrong, you can annoy your customers. So, for example, if you don't play an ad and you get a slate instead, it's worse than actually seeing the ad. It's annoying. Also, if you start playing the ad but you play it at a high bitrate and you get a rebuffering event, it's not great. Also, you can get jarring changes in audio volumes, which are not great. Also, video changing from HDR to SDR can become an issue, and it doesn't look great. So I think there's work for us to do to make ads an integral part of the stream and look good. So monetization is the last category I'm going to be talking about. So we asked what the current monetization strategies were, and then priority for future enhanced monetization. So at the top, it's ad-supported streaming. And here it's obviously free ad-supported TV and also ad-supported video on demand. And 69% of respondents said it's their current strategy, and 54% say that it's a priority for future. And it's decreasing in the future, and I think that matches with what I'll talk a little bit about later. The second priority was non-intrusive ads. So 33% of respondents said non-intrusive ads was a priority now, and 40% said it's a priority in the future. So subscription-based models is growing in importance to viewers. And that sort of matches the ad-supported. And also, the interesting thing to us is new revenue models are becoming more important. So they're like live sports betting, 12% say it's important now, but 22% say it's important in the future. This is all about watch and bet streaming services. So, and then data monetization is also becoming important, as well as retail QR codes. Okay, so this is a brief run through of what we found through the survey. There's much more detail. I'm digging through the data. If anyone's interested in talking about this or trying to answer some of their questions through the data that we have, I'm really keen to talk to people. So feel free to reach out to me. And just lastly, I'm super excited about the future of sports. There's a real drive to make it much more engaging and interactive and personalized. And to us, that's they're really interesting problems. Thanks.